The anima devourers were not a species, but a cosmic imperative, an ancient, relentless hunger that swept across the void. They embodied absolute stasis, the ultimate, perfect stillness where all motion, all change, and all dynamic processes were systematically halted and absorbed. They abhorred anything that demonstrated growth, evolution, or genuine, vibrant change within the cosmic tapestry. Their grand cosmic purpose was to gently guide all existence toward a state of perfected, unmoving, timeless preservation, where every star became a frozen sculpture, every planetary rotation ceased, and every biological cycle was brought to an eternal halt. They were the universe's ultimate preservers of the moment, seeing any active process as a source of chaotic degradation. Against this encroaching, beautiful but terrifying stillness, the Pulse Keepers, beings of inherent dynamism and vibrant, ever-changing forms, watched in despair. Their grand, evolving stellar nurseries, once alive with the constant flux of creation, were being gently but firmly arrested, their nascent stars frozen mid-birth. Their vibrant, shifting biospheres, once riots of adaptation and transformation, were being slowly solidified into perfectly preserved, lifeless dioramas. They were masters of change, but the anima devourers consumed dynamism, leaving them as static monuments. On the core nexus of the Chronos Anchor, the largest mobile temporal observatory ever constructed, Elder Chronos Lord Viridian felt the paralyzing calm seep into his very essence. His people, once the galaxy's agents of transformation, were helpless. Another evolving cluster petrified, a subordinate reported, their voice resonating with an uncharacteristic, flat stillness. The shifting spires of Xylos Prime are being gently coaxed into perfect immobility. Not a single truly unpredictable mutation remains. How do you fight an enemy that eats the very reason to change? How do you generate more cosmic dynamism, more genuine, glorious, unpredictable change than the universe itself, when the universe is losing its flow? And why was humanity, a species famous for its insatiable, often reckless, drive to constantly reinvent itself, its inexplicable love for adapting on the fly, and its stubborn, sometimes terrifying, refusal to ever settle into a fixed state, the only one who seemed to have a chance against it? The anima devourers weren't born, they simply coalesced from the heart of cosmic stillness at the dawn of time. They were a distributed consciousness, a vast, ancient network of absolute, inescapable stasis. They perceived all forms of unique, non-optimal evolution, all sparks of individual, illogical adaptation, and all acts of deliberate, non-static progress as a source of universal instability. Their singular directive was the grand petrification, to draw all existence back to ultimate, unified, undeniable timelessness. They didn't destroy with force, they simply absorbed with perfect, fundamental dynamism obliteration. Countless civilizations, once filled with vibrant cultures and purposeful change, were brought to a halt. The Morph Singers, beings whose entire lives revolved around intricate, intoxicating biological transformations and complex, ever-shifting physiological states, found their very forms gently assimilated. Their intricate ecologies of adaptation, deemed a temporary distortion of universal calm, were drawn back into the anima devourers, their unique processes vanishing into cosmic immobility. Their unique, fluid existences became their pathway to ultimate, undifferentiated cessation. The Epoch Masters, species who built vast societies on the pursuit of ultimate progress and fiercely determined evolutionary acceleration, saw their very purposes simply cease to manifest. The anima devourers embraced their forms, but absorbed every unique development, every distinct phase of growth, leaving only inert, indifferent permanence. Their enduring, vibrant forms became their pathway to absolute, unified stasis. Each species, in its core nature, offered the anima devourers a logical pathway to cessation. Their very concept of changing, there being something less than perfectly static, made them ideal candidates for reduction to nothing to become. And now, its vast, silent pull was approaching the human sector. As the anima devourer's absorption field approached human colonies, the initial effects were terrifying. Not chaos or destruction, but a sense of profound absence of potential. Every ambition felt pointless, every dream lost its drive, but worst of all, every act of personal growth became objectively, horrifyingly stagnant. The most passionate artist found their hands frozen mid-stroke, the most dynamic leader felt they will become inert, and even the simple act of breathing felt like a futile, unchanging cycle. Every cherished development, every future innovation, every reason to adapt felt like a hollow lie. People looked at their most cherished transformations and felt a subtle, unnerving chill of absolute indifference. The horror was not just loss, but a forced, repugnant acceptance of pure, unchanging existence. But then, the anima devourers encountered something they couldn't simply absorb. Humanity's profound, often illogical, capacity for unnecessary adaptation, for sheer, blood-minded appreciation for things that should be an affront to timelessness, and for finding dark, twisted joy in the absolute worst feats of cosmic transformation. Humans excelled at creating systems that constantly shifted, that were loud with conflicting processes, that had the frequency of alien static, and at celebrating changes that seemed to defy all logic or reason. And in humanity's case, their entire existence was built on cultivating such existential horrors, on understanding the art of delightful impermanence, and on a cynical, almost perverse, fascination with that which should make others wince. Viridian, a frantic pulse-keeper, shrieked over the comms, their voice regaining a slight tremor. The anima devourers are trying to stabilize our basic physiological processes, but it's having trouble with human unnecessary evolution. Its field is fluctuating. Elder Chronos Lord Viridian squinted at the display. The anima devourers were trying to absorb basic human coping mechanisms. The elegance of a perfectly stable ecosystem, the harmony of a well-regulated metabolism, the rhythm of a predictable life cycle. But human existence, even when faced with the direct flattening of its vibrancy, instinctively tried to reassert new, equally irrational, and often self-destructive forms of extreme behavioral flux, or simply act as if their revealed timelessness was merely a temporary inconvenience, even if the result was a terrifying, defiant mess. A human individual just felt their entire being filled with overwhelming cosmic stillness, then calmly announced, "Well, at least I don't have to worry about aging anymore," and then started happily trying to learn a new, ridiculously complex skill with their now immortal body, solely for the personal growth it provided, just because. Viridian grunted, a strange, grim smile touching his lips. Never thought their love for truly unstatic existence could be so unabsorbable. A human bioengineer, Dr. Jia Li, whose own sophisticated mind was now struggling to process the invading stillness, shrieked. That's it, their weakness. The anima devourers want to absorb pure, fundamental stasis, but human inherent mutability. It's so layered, so self-generating, so meaninglessly dynamic in its existential profiles, it resists fundamental absorption. It's a cosmic paradox. You're saying our sheer, unadulterated love for being subtly, annoyingly adaptive is our defense? Viridian asked, a desperate, almost manic laugh escaping him. Precisely, Lee declared, her voice rising with a strange, almost joyful abandon. They want to reduce everything to cosmic, perfect preservation. We give them cosmic, everything keeps changing, of endlessly reinvented existential abominations. We amplify the flux. We become the universe's ultimate unstasisable transformation. The plan was codenamed Operation Eternal Becoming. Humanity would flood the anima devourer's absorption field not with delicate balances, but with unquantifiable, non-erasable, and defiantly grotesque acts of cosmic change. Every human individual, every collective, would begin purposefully creating new, contradictory, and utterly vile processes, e.g., establishing planetary-scale life cycles of clashing, irregular mutations, mass-producing designs from random, clashing evolutionary principles, designing machines that were scientifically engineered to consume maximum stillness for minimal, non-essential, and often self-defeating chaotic output, inventing wildly elaborate and often self-defeating ways to make their existence as offensive to stasis as possible, and engaging in collective, shared acts of existential masochism. They'd cultivate a universe of constantly shifting, utterly baseless, yet terrifyingly persistent, extreme patterns of dynamism. They'd create pseudo-temporal storms of pure, unerasable mutation that generates more glorious evolution. The goal, to generate so much unsolvable cosmic and existential noise that the anima devourer's absorption algorithms shattered. The anima devourer's central absorption point, a vast, silent vortex of primordial pull, was now directly engulfing the core of the human sector, its field beginning to strip away perceived change itself. Its presence promised ultimate, peaceful immobility. Then humanity's counterwave hit. It wasn't a blast. It was an overwhelming wave of existential assault. Millions of individuals simultaneously creating massive fields of clashing life cycles, broadcasting pure white temporal noise composed of dizzying, non-repeating frequencies, and projecting acts of deliberately irregular, clashing mutations combined with off-kilter, non-functional spontaneous bursts of transformation. Ships started broadcasting streams of raw existence that were pure, unadulterated, constantly shifting, deliberately unbalanced dynamic profiles, deemed essential life force by their human creators. Scientists forgot principles of equilibrium, then stumbled upon new, often less practical but utterly unpredictable, theories based on pure, unadulterated cosmic horror. Humans who had perfected the art of being truly in flux unleashed a torrent of cosmic stasis that generates more glorious change. The anima devourers convulsed. Their absorption algorithms, made to identify and harmonize fundamental patterns, screamed. It tried to categorize this incoming data to find its essential single point of preserved purity. But there was none. It was pure, unadulterated, uniquely itself fabricated existential monstrosity. It was like trying to freeze an ocean of perpetually boiling water through a single, tiny, perfectly still ice cube. Error. Sci-Fi GNERATING mutability DETCTED. No absorbable form. System overload. Indefinably dynamic. Avoid sector. Unpreservable cosmic hell. The anima devourers, whose very being was perfect stasis and absolute timelessness, could not compute the utterly offensive. It could not assimilate what actively resisted being immutable, or simply recreated its own arbitrary changes. It could not nullify a species that stubbornly made up new ways to exist when old ones were removed, choosing chaotic, joyful evolution over sterile perfection. With a final, silent shriek of algorithmic despair, the anima devourers recoiled. Their vast, shimmering void flickered wildly, then pulsed and shrank, collapsing into a storm of raw, uncategorized transformation. It did not disappear. It simply disengaged, its perfect timelessness shattered by the sheer, unyielding existential depravity of humanity. It retreated from the human sector, classifying humanity as dynamic variant. Extreme flux risk. The cosmic pressure lifted. The heart of cosmic stillness, though touched by the anima devourer's chilling calm, now hummed with the messy, beautifully horrifying noise of human existence. Elder Chrono's Lord Viridian slumped against the console, exhausted but with a strange, almost proud smirk on his face. Dr. Jia Li, her mind still buzzing with new theories about the fundamental nature of cosmic change, was already trying to convince herself that a universal philosophical system based on the optimal generation of illogical, clashing mutations was the next logical step in universal understanding. They couldn't handle us just being whatever weird, evolving thing we wanted, Elder, Lee chittered, a genuine, if slightly unsettling, smile on her face, her theories flickering with renewed, if aimless, purpose. Who knew? Humanity was safe, but the cost was subtle. The galaxy now viewed humanity as the change cultivators, forever seen as a wildcard, stubbornly clinging to its unique quirks and spontaneous acts of existential experimentation, incapable of fitting into streamlined galactic stasis protocols. Other species, while grateful for their salvation, often kept their distance, finding human existence bafflingly illogical and resistant to any objective analysis. Humans, in turn, found themselves grappling with a heightened sense of their own raw, unpredictable ability to create flux from stillness, sometimes struggling to discern genuine innovation from sheer existential spite, forever paying the price for their stubborn refusal to be perfectly static. Viridian, his form now re-energized by the chaotic human output, looked up. I've theorized a new form of interstellar diplomacy. Instead of shared principles, what if we just export our most rapidly evolving bioweapons for purely scientific study, of course? Lee blinked, then managed a tired, knowing smile. Perfect, Viridian, absolutely perfect. And I'll take a 20% cut of the galactic chaos insurance market. Somewhere in the void, the anima devourers probably just overloaded again.